So I know that as I've been doing these and releasing these, I've actually been a day behind from what I've been saying. It's supposed to coincide with 29 days in February. 29 seasons, 29 days in February. So I'm using this as an opportunity to catch up, and I'm hoping to record and release both of these on February 14th. That is Valentine's Day, or at least here in the US, and it just happens to be fitting because, let's just say, it relates to my favorite episodes for these next two seasons. So, getting right into it. And they both happen to be in the same month, so I don't know why I happen to choose these episodes. The 28th overall season in 2004, that was Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger. It doesn't say Dekaranger on my shirt. It says Stat the Boost. Right into the things that I liked and the things that kind of threw me off. First and foremost, I think the thing that I really enjoyed about this season is they all kind of had a close dysfunctional relationship, kind of like a family, and kind of pulling from my Power Rangers experience and just kind of knowing that there was always this tension between red and blue, and how they adapted that into Power Rangers SPD was done pretty well. The interesting thing is, for Power Rangers SPD, it was red and yellow who were the outcast newcomers, whereas with Dekaranger, it was only red who was a newcomer. And credit to both of those seasons. Both of those seasons were pretty good in their own rights. I saw how they adapted certain things and kind of changed it to match their seasons a little bit more. And like the big one that stood out was the backstory of Deca Break was essentially the backstory for the Blue Ranger in Power Rangers SPD, where there's a villain who killed his dad and, or I guess in the case of Dekaranger, both of his parents, and they managed to take him in and get revenge and get justice for their family, and how they used it to feed the character development and all that stuff for the Blue Ranger and Power Rangers SPD was pretty well done. And a lot of people were really thrown off by Dekaranger's Doggy Kruger's appearance versus the Power Rangers SPD version. But I don't know, it didn't bother me. I felt like, I don't know how to put it, it just felt more Japanese, because I don't know, something about the Dekaranger Doggy Kruger was, again, quote unquote, like cuter almost, so it kind of matched the overall Japanese feeling or aesthetic for me. I don't know, maybe I've been watching too much anime or something. Speaking of Doggy Kruger, Doggy and Swan, I ship it. It's cute. That's the romance for this season, and not the reason why I am trying to release this on February 14th, Valentine's Day. They have these really sweet moments, and so they always have like small, cute little moments together, and like she's kind of either teasing him or like poking at him, and they have like this really friendly demeanor with each other. But the episode where I realized it is when Swan gets recognized and receives an award for her work with the Dekarangers. And, the celebration gets thwarted, but she gets the medal. And she puts the medal around Doggy because she says that, she wouldn't have been able to get the medal if it wasn't for him always being by her side. And then it plays her character's music, which I think is sung by the actress, who I think is actually a pretty well-known singer in Japan, based on the wikis that I've been reading. And it's a really sweet moment, and they're walking together on a beach. It's all nice and romantic. And then to top it off, the Dekarangers gather on top of the cliff, kind of watching like their kids who are happy their parents are in love. So just kind of going back to how all of the characters feel like a family, and so Doggy and Swan basically take on the parental figures, and everyone else is the kid, and it was cute. It was fun. I liked it. Something I can really appreciate about this season is how much it really stuck to its theme as a police sort of a theme. I mean, yeah, it has that kind of like a space police theme, plays on a certain noir kind of theme, whether it's like the jazz music, and even just how I noticed how they set up some episodes. I don't really watch any crime shows here in the United States, like, I don't know, CSI or Law and Order or NYPD Blue or whatever, or Blue Bloods or whatever those shows are. But like the few that I've seen, because I've had friends or family put it in the background and just kind of saw an episode out of the corner of my eye, it really sets up the episodes like those shows where it's like, mysterious crime in the beginning, and then they're trying to solve it. Yeah, it still has the Monster of the Week format, but it's less so much trying to figure out like how to counteract this monster's ability, more so as it is trying to figure out who done it, and trying to catch him and find them in the first place before they even have a chance to take him down. So it really stuck to its theme as a police and detective series, and the noirish part is, in my opinion, the way they set up the background music and even the end music. It sounds like a certain jazziness. It was a lot of fun. Like, I'm sure there are some parts you can put in black and white and it'd be like perfect. I still don't know why this one threw me off, but there was an episode where Umiko gets drunk, but it's more than just, it's not even because of an ability. A bit of background for the episode. In this episode, she's not feeling like herself. She feels like she's always a failure, so she feels like she has to try to emulate Deka Yellow. But then, she eventually realizes that she actually does have a lot to contribute, and she can only do things her way. And in the case of this monster, she decides to get drunk because she manages to steal that monster's sake, which has been powering it up. So she drinks the sake and she basically does drunken fist. Let's just say you see this again in another season. So I don't know why it still threw me off, but I'm just like, okay, well, okay. Drinking culture is definitely different over there. That's all I'm saying. It was kind of interesting that in this one and in the later Drunken Fist episode that they do, they were both centered around a Chinese setting. That's all I'll say. I don't know, it was weird. They even had a warning on the screen, like, don't drink. I'm like, well, it's good that they're being transparent, I guess. I don't know. It's just, maybe that was the part that threw me off. I'm like, they actually put a warning on the screen. So kind of going along with things that threw me off in terms of, what they allow in terms of censorship. It's like, whenever they're arresting the villains or the monsters, there's always they mention some pretty hardcore crimes, like, you have been charged with murder, arson, destruction of a planet. Like, jeez, that's pretty hardcore. And in that same sense, just kind of comparing it to its Western counterpart, I think I noticed that in these, the translation is like, you have been approved for deletion. So they just straight up kill them, destroy them. Because in the Power Rangers equivalent, they get put in these like prison cards. So I only realized this when in one of their weapons, the revolver, they put in their they call it the SP license, their morpher, and then they blast the villain or the monster. Whereas if I remember correctly, in Power Rangers, they slide the card first, then they load the card, and then they blast the villain. And that's when it occurred to me, I'm like, did they just straight up, yeah, they just straight up destroy them. Jeez. So something that I found particularly interesting with this season is there really is no main big villain in the same way that, past seasons have had, where it's like, from the first episode to the very last episode, there's always the villain always has like a big plan to take over the world by the end of the year or whatever. Whereas, or even with Power Rangers SPD, the main big bad in that was Emperor Grum, who was going around destroying all the planets and trying to conquer the world, whatever. In this one, there was no main big villain. They really only put one in there just for the sake of having one, and even then they integrated it particularly well, because kind of like how some crime shows go, the main big villain at the very end was basically just a guy who they were interfering with his black market deals. It's like if there was the only reason why Agent Umbrella, or the main big villain at the end, even tried to retaliate against the Dekarangers and take over their base and stuff, was because he was fed up with them interfering with his black market deals. He was shutting down all of his operations, and in a sense that kind of reminded me of the Wanderers villains from Time Ranger. It didn't feel like a force of nature as a villain trying to conquer the world. It was just another criminal, basically. Well, it's probably somewhere in the top 10 criminals, but just another criminal nonetheless. Not big conqueror person. And again, that's just how well it really stuck with its police, noir, and detective sort of theming. My favorite episode was episode 37, Hard-Boiled License. In this episode, Hoji, or Deca Blue, is in his final test to become an elite Dekaranger, kind of like Deca Break, who's the 6th Ranger. And, just as a bit of background, that elite group is called the Tokyo, and they have a gold badge. And in this one, he has a day off, or a night off, and he goes out on a date. Who knew? And, he's getting really close with this woman, and I think he expresses his, he's talking about how close he is to passing the test and becoming a Tokyo. She meets his date's brother, who is very disapproving of him because he's very protective of her. They try to get to know each other, but the brother is still being very cold to Hoji. And then, Hoji gets a call that, it's time for his last test. And his last test is to apprehend a monster who has been committing murders around the city. And lo and behold, the monster that's committing the murder is his girlfriend's brother, because his species has a power to drain the life force of people. And in this case, he's trying to drain the life force of human women, because they create a flower that can cure his sister of a disease, and that's why he's overprotective of her and things like that. When it came down to the final showdown, he's running, it's raining, and then boom, dead. And then, of course, his girlfriend is walking in the rain. There's a crowd, there's a commotion. She sees that it's her brother, she's crying, and then Hoji's standing there morphed in his Dekaranger suit, just kind of looking up, and it's raining, and the rest of the Dekarangers get there, and it was just dramatic. And then when it cuts to the next scene, everyone, or at least Von Decared, is holding the gold badge that Hoji earned because he completed his mission and he passed all the tests. But Doge is saying that he turned it down because I guess the guilt of having to kill his girlfriend's brother, he didn't feel worthy of it. Or maybe, he didn't realize what it would really take to be a Tokyo if, he can't let people get close to him and stuff. So he turned it down. And, they're kind of wondering, like, and they were saying something like, his girlfriend was being treated for whatever disease she had, and it's like, she could have left at any time, but then they're saying she must have found another reason to stay on Earth. That reason probably being Hoji. So then it cuts to Hoji at the graveyard with flowers, presumably visiting the grave of his now ex-girlfriend's brother, and they meet face to face. But then when you see her, she's a nun. I was like, oh jeez. They don't say any words. They only look at each other. I don't think they even nod, and they just walk by each other. And I probably should have mentioned that his ex-girlfriend, the now nun, was a lounge singer, and it plays the song that she was singing, and the song is about, like, she had to, like, leave her former self behind or something, and it was just fitting. But then the reason why this was my favorite episode was because it was just entertaining. It was like, so when I first saw it, and it's like, the shock came to me, like, she's a nun. For some reason, it just made me think, like, that's some K-drama stuff. It was like a K-drama, or like those really long, drawn-out cinematic K-pop music videos. It's like drama for the sake of drama. It was like, oh my god, it was just really entertaining and just almost, I guess you can argue they milk it, like the rain and the music, but it was entertaining. And then, the way they paired it with her music and her singing, it was just entertaining from start to finish. And I think something to note is that, there was no big toku scene. There was no mech scene. Like, even the final shot that Hoji took to take down his target, it wasn't even done in, like, Super Sentai fashion with, like, a big crazy finisher. It was just, like, his gun, even though it doesn't really look like a conventional gun, and just muzzle flash. And it's like, you could turn that, you can take out the Super Sentai skins, like the monster skins and all that stuff, and it could just be like any sort of crime show. So with that, it was just really entertaining. It was between this and, like, I think only 2 or 3 episodes before it, where it was basically a cold case revenge story. But then I think this has the added, like, emotion of not using a big toku scene, of not having a big crazy special effects scene, and then using a song that's only used in the episode. And it was just entertaining from start to finish, much like the season as a whole. And just kind of a testament to how much it really stuck to its theming. And I don't know what the criteria is for seasons to have a 10 years later special, but if it's because it has a big following, it's like a fan favorite, I would definitely say this is one of them.